Like, you might be 100% innocent. You might have not done a thing wrong in your life, but it does not matter. Like, if they want to find something to make you look terrible, they will do it, and they will take your shit away for it, and you will be screwed.
Subscribe to this channel in case you are watching this channel and have not subscribed.
Piers Morgan Uncensored. In the 5 days since allegations about Russel Brand were made public, he's been excommunicated. It's becoming a chilling case study on guilty until proven innocent. And how can anyone now lose everything without any due process at all? As of today, it's been shockingly cheered on by the British Parliament. First, Brand was dropped by his management company. His live shows were postponed. His book deal was shelved. Netflix, Channel 4 and the BBC have begun quietly dropping his content. But in recent years, Brand hasn't relied on any of those platforms for influence. He makes his money doing this.
It's almost like the judicial system is more fair than whatever this fucking system is. Like, the judicial system is known for being wildly unfair in almost every regard. But this is beyond. This is like the judicial system on steroids. Like, you don't even have to do the fucking trial, and even if you do the trial, you still might not get your shit back. Like, even if you are proven innocent, you still might not get your shit back. I think that's crazy as fuck. That's one thing that I'm really eager to see, is if Andrew Tate and them get their fucking social media back once they're proven innocent. If they are, I believe they will be. But that is one thing I'm really interested in.
So how is this fire being used? What's the truth about it? And why are there so many conspiracy theories? Mainstream media and state interests continually use legitimate tragedies in an opportunistic way. There's a little wrinkle in this where people were trying to set Ukraine up so that foreign investment opportunities would be presented. Is this in order to reverse climate change and feed the world? Or is it so that the entire process of food, from growing it to selling it, can be patented and controlled by Bill Gates? Natural catastrophes that ruin most people's lives are beneficial to financial elites. Wars that ruin the lives of Ukrainian and Russian people are beneficial to the weapons manufacturing industry.
See, I hope that's where I don't fuck up, because I'm kind of on the same side of all this shit, to where like all the people that are getting canceled are getting canceled, like people that have the same type of viewpoints as me. But I don't really do the research like them, so so hopefully when they see my content, they're like, "Oh, this motherfucker just dumb. Nobody gonna believe him. Let him be. Don't need to cancel him." I'm hoping that's the case, because that's the only reason why I can see Russel Brand getting just destroyed like how he is, because that motherfucker was barking up a tree, man. He wasn't just barking up it; he was almost at the tippity top.
I personally think some of what Russel Brand says is complete nonsense, and other stuff I agree with. He's got every right to say, though, what he wants.
That's Piers' stance on every single fucking guest that he brings on. I swear it's such a cop-out.
And he has lots of followers who love what he says. He has 6.5 million subscribers on his YouTube channel alone. The Google-owned company, though, has now stripped his account of the ability to make money, at least for him. He can still post videos, he just can't take his cut. Now, in a sinister development, an arm of the British state is pressing other platforms to do the same. Dame Caroline Dinage, the chair of the Culture, Media and Sport Committee, has written to X, formerly Twitter, TikTok and Rumble, these alternative platforms where Brand has a big following, asking them to drop it. "We are concerned that he may be able to profit from his content on the platform," she said. "We would be grateful if you could confirm whether Mr. Brand is able to monetize his content. If so, we'd like to know whether you intend to join YouTube in suspending Mr. Brand's ability to earn money." Now, Russel Brand is accused of very serious things: rape and sexual abuse. They're grave allegations, reported meticulously by exemplary journalism at Dispatches, Channel 4 and the Sunday Times. But they remain at the moment accusations. These are claims by people who've remained anonymous. I think the conspiracy theories about an establishment attack to crush a dissenting voice are hogwash. But I can't think of a better way to fan those conspiracy flames than for a parliamentary committee to intervene like this. As more people make their living online, we should be extremely concerned about the ability of tech companies to choose who gets to do that.
It should be illegal.
In democracy, no one should have more respect for due process than Parliament.
It's almost turned into like a whole global government anyways. Like, it's everywhere. Everywhere they can do whatever the fuck they want, and they can override constitutional rights of countries just because of their terms and service. Like, that's honestly crazy to me, man. I don't see how it's not wrong for them to play the judicial system or to play the constitution in countries that already have laws that allow people to behave the way that they do. And now they're coming in and just like trying to, oh no, you can't do that because it goes against our terms of service. Like that's just wrong to me, man. If you're over here taking away rights from people, like taking away someone's speech in a country where they got freedom of speech, I don't see how the fuck they can get away with that.
It's not about taking sides on Russell Brand. If he's guilty, he deserves a punishment every bit as severe as the alleged crimes that he committed. But trial by MPs or trial by Silicon Valley seems to me dangerous and wrong. Well, to discuss, I'm joined by Daily Wire host Michael Knowles in America. Michael, there are lots of strands.
I was going to ask. I thought he was going to have Russell Brand on here, but it makes sense on why he wouldn't, because the British Parliament are trying to make it to where websites take him off. So I would assume that they wouldn't let him go on their TV.
To this Russell Brand story. But let's focus on one today, which is this what appears to be an extraordinary overreach by the British Parliament, where the chair of a select committee has written to all these tech companies demanding effectively that they financially cancel Russell Brand over allegations. What is your reaction to this?
Does Russell Brand live in the UK? Because if so, then I can kind of see it a little bit more on why they're so interested in it and why they have some authority over it. But I would assume that they have the same judicial system, not the same, but similar, to where you're guilty and you're innocent until proven guilty. And yet that's not the case with this situation.
I'm glad to see that Rumble responded to Parliament and said,
you.
we're not going to cancel someone who hasn't had due process of law based on mere accusations without a conviction. That's really great.
Rumble for the dub.
It's unfortunate, however, that YouTube didn't need any nudging from Parliament. YouTube decided to demonetize Russell Brand right away. Based on what? Based on some reporting of decades-old allegations, which may or may not be true. I don't know. Russell Brand has been pretty open about having been a derelict and a degenerate for a long period of time in his life. But this is a very deeply concerning thing, because it's not just a matter of our institutions turning a little bit oppressive. It's not just a matter of the internet becoming less free with YouTube clamping down. It's a matter of our whole society. Do we have a free society or not? Well, if we don't have due process of law, then we can't make any claim to being a free society any longer.
Right. I mean, I don't happen to think, as many people seem to, judging by social media, that there's been some deliberate, orchestrated mainstream media attempt to gag and silence Russell Brand. So for what it's worth, I don't think that is what's happened here.
His producer told him that he had to say that. Why would I trust you, bro? You're on TV right now.
I think this is actually a spillover from the Me Too and Time's Up campaigns. I think they've been working on it for 4 years, some of these journalists, and they finally think they have enough to publish these allegations against Russell Brand. And that's fine. I read the journalism with my former newspaper hat on, editor hat on. I thought the journalism was perfectly well executed, but, and it's a very important but, they remain allegations. And it seems to me what's happening here is that the British Parliament is now joining in a concerted effort by a number of entities to effectively be judge and jury on Russell Brand, to preemptively convict him of these allegations and to punish him. Now, that just seems to me, on every level, that should not be happening.
But you don't think it's orchestrated? Like, what do you mean? Like, it's very clearly being orchestrated right now.
This is a blurring of institutions that we've seen build up for years now. You see this especially on campuses. If there is a claim of sexual impropriety on campus, what happens? Do the students go to the police and then there's a trial over rape? No,
nope, they lose their scholarship.
Professors get together in a committee and they hold a kangaroo court, and they will be judge, jury, and executioner. They'll expel the student without any due process of law. And in recent years, we've seen that a number of these have turned out to be hoaxes. Well, how did they get it so wrong? Because professors are not supposed to be the ones who are exercising the law. They're not law enforcement officers, in the same way that Parliament here is not supposed to be conducting the trial, certainly not Parliament and the media put together, and YouTube and Rumble are not supposed to be enforcing the law. To your point, Piers, I don't think that there's a cabal of people in a smoky back room somewhere saying we've got to go get Brand. But it is convenient that amid all of the sexual debauchery that typifies Hollywood, which we call Gomorrah by the Sea over here, everybody virtually is involved in it. The people that tend to be held to account, even decades later, are people who speak out. And so you look at someone like Bill Cosby. I have no doubt that Bill Cosby did all sorts of nasty things, some of which may have been illegal. But I think that the reason the establishment stopped liking Bill Cosby is because he said things that were politically incorrect and politically conservative.
What did he say?
And the same thing goes for Russell Brand here. The longer the time between the alleged crimes and the consequences for those crimes, the more skeptical I am about the people who are suddenly moved to prosecute.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt also that the way that certain strands of the media covering the Russell Brand scandal is very interesting, because they've all pivoted on their positions depending on how he's been perceived with his own opinions. In other words, when he was a left-wing darling a few years ago, he was sitting in on the Guardian editorial conferences, for example, next to the editor. He was a highly prized columnist there for a number of years. He guest edited the New Statesman, a left-wing publication. You know, he was appearing on stage with big left-wing firebrands like Owen Jones and so on. And it goes on and on and on. And he was lauded despite his open bragging about his sort of pretty depraved sexual activity. He did it to me in a GQ interview, talking about, you know, just the phenomenal number of women he was having sex with and how he would look for good targets, his words, not mine, and so on. Very kind of hunter language, which today, I suspect, someone made a good point, actually. If social media had existed when that interview appeared, he'd have been torn to pieces by social media. And it might have concentrated his mind, and he might have avoided getting himself into the problems that came later and what he's experiencing now. But there was no social media, so this stuff would appear. But nobody moved to cancel Russell Brand then. None of these left-wing organizations thought this was anything reprehensible. Now, a lot of the same people, because he's now seen as a sort of alt-right kind of character, you know, really adopted by the conservatives now, a lot of people on the left who happily saluted and celebrated him, knowing what he was admitting in public about his activities,
right,
they're now revisionistly going back and feigning, in my view, moral outrage over what he was admitting to then. I don't think you can do that.
Right.
Certainly.
Hypocritical.
People are comparing this to a Soviet show trial, to a kangaroo court where the people are convicted before any evidence is presented. And I think that's a good analogy, because I think it explains why these guys get off the hook for all of their improprieties for so long. And that's so that people have compromise on them, you know, so that they put themselves in compromising positions and they get away with it until they stop towing the party line. And then all of a sudden it becomes a political attack. You see, even in the Times story that came out, the big transgression here seems to have been more political than sexual, because the women say they were only motivated to speak out when they were contacted by journalists. It's not as though they ran to law enforcement. It's not as though they penned an essay on Substack or Medium or something like that. This was a decision that was made within the media. It's
Right.
obviously a political decision, because newspaper editors are political figures. And the way that we can underscore that is just as soon as the story came out, already the political figures are getting involved up to and including Parliament.
Yeah, and you see,
I just don't see why. Like, I see this as obviously like a tactic to get rid of voices, to get rid of people that are voicing against the narrative, but it's also like a scare tactic to anybody else that has a voice that wants to speak out but can't or is gonna stop now, because dog, that's scary, man. Like, bro, you're gonna be going to prison for a while as a rapist. That's the worst thing to go to prison for. That is the worst thing to go to prison for. And like, I don't know, man. And then to be known as that's another bad thing. Like, every single thing about that word is just so stigmatizing. And it's like, that had to be the scariest fucking thing as a celebrity, to want to say something but just not because you don't want to risk it. Like, you might be 100% innocent. You might have not have done a damn thing wrong in your fucking life, but it does not matter. Like, if they want to find something to make you look terrible, they will do it, and they will take your shit away for it, and you will be screwed. Like, it's just such a fucking crazy, evil mind game that whoever is doing all this shit is playing with us.
I mean, you see a lot of double standard, I think. And for example, the way that Donald Trump has been treated over his alleged misdemeanors, and the way Joe Biden has over the Hunter Biden laptop scandal and so on. Completely different set of standards. You know, when Trump, for example, is found with classified documents. It's the worst thing of all time, and it's pretty serious. But when they're found in Joe Biden's garage, the same journalists who've been so incensed by Trump's keeping of these documents almost don't want to acknowledge that Biden's done the same thing.
Well, don't forget, Piers, they first tried to impeach Donald Trump for colluding with the Russians, and then that investigation, the Mueller investigation, went absolutely nowhere. So they flipped and decided they were going to impeach Donald Trump for colluding with the Ukrainians. And the subject was that Donald Trump had some kind of untoward, improper phone call with the leader of Ukraine. And the supreme irony here is, while Donald Trump had a perfectly fine phone call, we now know for a fact that Joe Biden did exert extreme political pressure on Ukraine. In fact, he set up phone calls with the president of Ukraine under pseudonyms through which he was involved in his son's crooked business deals.
And his son was earning millions of dollars sitting on the board of a Ukrainian energy company for which he had absolutely zero experience. I mean, it's a more blatant form of corruption when your father's vice president with specific interest in Ukraine. It's hard to imagine.
Joe Biden's attorney general just came out yesterday, Merrick Garland, and he said with a straight face, you got to give him credit for being a supreme actor. He said that there's only one system of justice in the United States, not two tiers of justice. At the same time, he's ducking questions about the FBI targeting Catholics, about the FBI targeting parents. And then the most farcical aspect of it all, which is that for the first time in American history, a former president is being indicted. The leader of the opposition is currently being indicted. Meanwhile, you've got far more evidence of far more egregious crimes from the sitting president of the United States. And what do? They slap the son, Hunter Biden, with no more than a minor gun charge. Of all the crimes that we've seen this guy commit on terabytes on his computer, they hit him on the gun charge, the one crime that doesn't implicate his father.
Yeah.
Total corruption.
An astonishing coincidence, you might not think. Great to talk to you, Michael. Thank you very much.
Man, I fucking hate how this country's going, man. Like, how much longer until Biden's out of office? Because, dude, I don't know, man. I don't know how much longer we got. It just seems like everything's falling to shit so quick. It just seems like this whole fucking country is just seconds away from just falling apart, if it hasn't already. Like, it's just, I don't know, man. I fucking hate it so much. I try my best to be optimistic about the outcome that is going to come from it. But, man, it's starting to seem like I need to get a passport or something, because, bruh, this does not seem like the place to be anymore, which is probably another strategy that foreign leaders are using to get Americans to leave America so that the America has less fighters. And it's like, all that's gonna be stuck here is a bunch of fucking LGBTQ obese feminists. Will do nothing to stand up for this country. But anyways, that's gonna be the end of that video. Please leave a like if you guys got anything to say about the video. Let me know down below. And if you fuck with your boy, would you please give me a subscription? With that said, deuces.
I can't never ever change, no. Been the same, I'ma stay that nigga. Getting money, but won't change that nigga. Risk it all, ball till I fall, remain that nigga. Pint of lean to the fiends, they gon' bang that nigga. Couple Cubans with a Ruger, they gon' flame that niggas. I ain't going back and forth with no lame ass niggas. Game goofy, no money, no change.